Hello, welcome to Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm your host, Karen Seltz. I was just listening to some pre-show Lizzo, and it made me laugh really hard. Oh, sometimes you got to do that. You got to do the thing that gives you so much joy. And who cares? Who cares if you're not ready when the show goes on? The show must go on, indeed. I'm so delighted that you're here tonight. I am super excited to share this topic with you, which is put a stop to something. Put a stop to something. I was listening to Good as Hell by Lizzo, and sometimes I do a little pre show dancing, just whatever mood I'm in. Sometimes I meditate, sometimes I do both. So, we're going to talk about put a stop to overwhelm tonight. That's what it is. I knew it would be there somewhere for me. And I have really defined and developed this two-step process that's so simple. It's so simple. You know what the hard part is? Remembering to do it in the moment. So I'm going to give you some interim steps to bridge the gap for you between where you are and where you're going, because it's really difficult to go from where you are to where I'm going to guide you tonight, like overnight. So you get to practice some bridging in between. Ready? Shall we play? So, overwhelm is a really important topic. I can remember many, many times in my life feeling like there was so much noise in my head that I couldn't hear a damn thing. I couldn't hear anything. And if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that ego speaks first and speaks loudest. So, in order for me to hear the voice of my higher self or spirit, I get quiet. And how can I get quiet when I have all this chaos in here? And I used to identify as ADD. I even got tested. I did all the testing. Do you remember Daniel Amen? He does a lot of ADD testing. Well, he had this, oh, I can't remember the name of the book, but it was a book on ADD, and he had defined 6, 7, 8 types of ADD. And I had all of them except for one. So I was justified in taking Adderall. But over the years, yes, it helped me to focus, but I started using it anytime I would feel sleepy. I was using it like, oh, that'll wake me up. And it did. It woke up my brain in a way that didn't overstimulate my body. You know how caffeine doesn't really wake up my brain too much. It just gets my body jittery. I don't know what it does for you, but that's the effect it has on me. But Adderall, I was on it and I would say addicted for many, many years. Even after I got off antidepressants, I was still addicted to Adderall. And I was prescribed it by a psychiatrist. And I kept going to a psychiatrist just to get this Adderall. And finally, I did enough meditation work, and I had this condition called orthostatic hypotension, which means every time I change postures, I get dizzy. And I do a lot of hot yoga, and we change postures a lot in there. So whenever I stand up or bend over and then stand up, I get really dizzy. And it didn't start until I had started taking the Adderall. So I thought if I stopped taking it, that would go away. It hasn't yet, but I digress. I did get off the Adderall. And it's really interesting. When I did that, these feelings of overwhelm started to creep back in. And what I realized for me, it was had to do with people pleasing. How many things was I saying yes to? And we get this thing sometimes called decision fatigue. It's a real thing. We are only created to make so many decisions per day. And what I tell people is when you are saying yes to everybody else out here, guess who you're saying no to? Yeah, you. You and the people you're here to serve. So it's a very convenient way to hide, to play small, to run from your calling. But it's not a good long term strategy, because guess what happens? well, I don't know about for you, but for me, I started to get really resentful. Even when people would invite me to do something, I'd be like, why did they invite me to do this? Instead of being grateful they thought of me, I was resentful because I didn't want to do it and I didn't know how to say no. So, what I'm going to teach you tonight is it's a very simple filter that you're going to run every single request through. So, when somebody asks you for a favor or to do something, instead of automatically saying, oh, yeah, sure, I could do that, and then later saying, damn it, why did I do that? I don't really want to do that. That's not a yes for me. And being angry or resentful at that person, you get to pause. Do not answer. Do not answer. So, your step one, and this is your bridge, is to say, oh, let me check in with myself on that, or let me think about it. I'll get back to you. Instead of saying yes or no right away, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And then you're going to run it through your two filters. Are you ready? Number one filter, is this in alignment with my vision? Which requires you to know what your vision is. What do you want? What do you want in the short term? What do you want in the long term? So say you are studying for a real estate exam and somebody asks you to go away for the weekend to this retreat. Who knows? And you really were planning on studying for that time. So is it in alignment with your vision? No. But it might be in alignment with the next thing, which is it in alignment with my values? There are these things called core values assessments, and you can look them up. They're really, really simple to take. Do you value health or spirituality more? And you just keep picking and you whittle it down, and then it gives you a list of your top values. So I'm going to give you an example of mine. So my top value is health. And the reason for that is if I feel crappy, I don't feel like I have access to my spiritual side. I don't feel like I have full access to my brain and to my heart. And I like to do stuff. I like to be physical. So it's really important for me to be healthy. That's my number one value. My number two value is spirituality, my spiritual connection. And yeah, you could, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just know your top 10. So one of my top 10 is fun. So is the retreat fun for me? Well, maybe. Maybe it depends what kind of retreat it is. So you get to look at those kind of things, run it through both of those filters. And if it's a no for you, I'll give you a third one just for fun. Your third filter is your body, because your body does not lie. It always knows if something's a yes for you or a no. So feel your body. When someone asks you to do them a favor or to do something with them, does your body expand? Does it feel open? Does it say like, hell yes? Or is it like going backward? Is it contracting? Do you feel tightness? Does your stomach knot up? Pay attention to those things because your body does not lie. It doesn't. So the body is the quickest way. You don't even have to go through the mental filters. But if your body's like, no, you can just say, oh, thank you so much for thinking of me. I'm going to pass. That's all you need to say. I do this all the time and I don't feel bad about it anymore. I used to be frightened. I used to be so afraid that nobody would invite me to do anything anymore, or people would be mad at me. People would judge me. People would talk badly behind my back. But who cares? None of that is really my business, to be honest. It's not. And it simply didn't happen. People still invite me to do things. And when I do them, when I say yes, I bring my whole self and I have fun. No matter what it is, I have fun. If someone says, will you help me move? And they're a good friend, I might check in based on the date. Do I have anything conflicting? And other than that, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be a hell yes. I'm going to have fun, because one of my other top values is contribution. So those are easy ones or difficult ones sometimes to weigh. So you get to figure out how that plays. So when you're faced with these decisions, somebody asks you something, what's the first thing you're going to say? If you're a people pleaser, do you remember? It is, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. And then when you call them back or text them back, you can say, I thought about it and I'm going, thanks for thinking of me. Be gracious because you want them to invite you to things again or to ask you things, right? And thanks for thinking of me. I'm going to pass. Or you can say, thanks for thinking of me. It's just not in alignment for me, because it's true. It's not in alignment with your vision. It's not in alignment with your values. And you don't have to explain. You don't. And the more space you create on your plate, the more freedom, the more peace you can experience, and the more time you have to nurture your vision. So what is it that really you want to do? One of the things, this came up for me today in my journaling, it's really interesting. It's where do you experience flow, or where do you experience the love of God, universe, source, spirit? Have a list of those things. So for me, meditation, big one, big one. I feel connected to source. I feel loved. I feel loving. Always some type of contribution. So I do different types of volunteer work. Right now I'm volunteering in the Dr. Joe Dispenza community doing coherence healings, and I absolutely love it. It fills me up. If I did them 24 hours a day, it would not fill me up. So again, get to watch how you're balancing things, right? And you're gonna know, check in with your body, create some space and some quiet time where you just ask yourself, how does this feel for me? Wouldn't it be nice if other people asked us that? Like, how does it feel for you? But we can't wait for other people. We get to do that for ourselves. How does it feel if I say yes? And you can also do the thing, there's this saying in AA, which I love. It's follow that drink to the end. So yeah, that drink sounds so good right now in this moment, but what's it going to feel like in 2 hours or tomorrow when you have to start all over, or when you're so disappointed in yourself, or when you crashed your car? So think about that. If you say yes to somebody, how are you going to feel on the other side? How are you going to feel in the middle of it, doing the thing? And what are you sacrificing? What are you not doing for yourself, or that honors you as a person or your calling? Gotta let the cat out. Gotta love live. So thinking about those things, how can you honor yourself? And you get to schedule those things in too, like where you experience the love of God or where you experience flow. When you schedule those things in, it is such a beautiful honoring of who you are and what you're here to do, that it just fills you up. And then you don't have these resentments. You don't feel bad because you have a whole day that got away from you because it was so filled with stuff for other people. And I'm not saying not to contribute to others, of course not. But you can't contribute to everybody all the time and still have time left for yourself. So pay attention to what you put out. And what's your intention? If you say yes to something, what's your intention? Check in with yourself. Okay, so back in the day, maybe not that long ago, 5 years ago, if I said yes to something, I'd be like, okay, now they'll value me more, or they'll owe me something, or I don't know, I always wanted something. I always felt like I was lacking, so I always wanted something, and it was like this accountant score sheet, like, okay, one for me, now they owe me, or the chit in the balance or whatever. I don't know any accountant language. That doesn't stop me from trying. So think about what's your intention. If you can get to the place where you do things purely because you want to, imagine the freedom you'll feel. And imagine the people receiving it. Because trust me, the energy that comes through you when you want to be somewhere is so different. People are going to perceive you so differently than if you're doing it out of obligation or because you thought you had to. I know you know what I'm talking about. Have you ever guilted somebody into doing something for you and then you're like, "Oh, I wish they weren't even here. It feels awful to have them here," and they make you miserable? Well, not that anyone can make you, but you know what I'm talking about. The energy is so heavy and you created it, right? I know I've done that. In the past, I used to do it all the time. Now I'm more aware of it. We'll just go with that. So pay attention what you're come from. When you ask people to do things, do you have an expectation that they will say yes? Or do they truly have a choice? I used to invite people to do things, and there was a hidden underlying expectation that they would say yes, or they were to be punished, or something. I would make them pay. And now I have none of that. If I invite someone, I have zero expectation they're going to say yes. I'm offering an invitation, and I never, ever want anybody to say yes to something that's a sacrifice for them, because the energy, I feel it. And I know you feel it too. If someone does something out of obligation, it doesn't feel good. It feels heavy. So pay attention to these things. And I would love to hear some things that come up for you. Like, what kinds of things overwhelm you? Is it friendships? Is it business? Is it charity work? What is it? Some people have kids, their schools ask for a lot from the parents these days. So before you say yes and think you have to, just know that there is this, I always forget what they're called, but there's something that in the A Course in Miracles that says, God would never ask his son to sacrifice. And I love that so much. We're not here to sacrifice. It is the opposite of what we're here for. We're here to celebrate and enjoy life and embrace it and have choice and to think about things like, what do I want? Does this feel in alignment for me or does it not? It's so beautiful when you get to that place where there's nothing that happens in here for you when you say no to something. It's beautiful. Like one of my recent things that I've recently come to know about myself is that I used to collect certifications and courses and education because I never felt like I was enough. So I was always looking for knowledge to make me feel like I was enough. Like if I know everything, nobody can prove me wrong, or then I'll have something of value to contribute. And somebody that I really love and respect offered me a free ticket to an event. This happened twice this week, actually. One was an online event, and it was just like an instant no in my body. I'm like, oh, thanks for thinking on me. No, thanks. I'm going to pass. I'm good. And he's like, okay, cool. Like nothing. He had no charge. And then somebody else offered me a ticket to Abraham Hicks. And it was just at this point, it was a no for me. I already had plans. I already gave my word for something else. And it was just like, thank you so much. I mean, it was really sweet because I haven't even met this person. And it was just a no. And she was fine. And it's not my responsibility how anybody else responds. That's their stuff. And I always look at it, I'm playing a role for that person, however they respond. If they're offended, I'm playing a role for them to bring that up and to heal that part of them that needs somebody to respond a certain way. And you get to do that too. So when you look at it like that, like we're all playing roles for one another to wake up and to grow and to learn our lessons. And then we're all at choice whether we choose to learn the lesson now or later when it gets louder. So I really hope that helps. Run everything through those 2 filters or 3. Does it, or is it in alignment with my vision? Number 1. And is it in alignment with my top 5 or 10 values? And then if you want the 3rd filter, which is the quick one, it's the Cliff Notes. Is it in alignment for my body? What does my body feel like when I think about doing the thing? And let me know how that works for you. Start taking things off your plate that don't bring you joy, that don't bring you fulfillment, that are not in alignment for you with your vision and your values, because you are here. for something great. And you can't do that great thing if you're doing all the other crap. So let's play, practice this, and let me know how it goes. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love a like and a subscribe, and please share it with anybody that you think this would help. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you right here next week.